when you found yourself there in 2007, as Tiffany said, perhaps not smartphones and apps, etc., but it was really a time of great change. And so could you just tell us why you advised Pope Benedict to have a YouTube channel?
Yeah. You must realize also the teaching of the Church is starting with the Vatican II, Inter Verifica. Is a document about the medias in social communication. But in that moment of the Vatican II, we were having substantially only three media: press, radio, television. Internet was not existing. And so during the pontificate of Paul VI, we are still talking about media, instruments of communication. The big change is with John Paul II. Why? Because during the time of John Paul II is starting to have relevance Internet. And the people involved in this field, they say that in the field of communication we have three major steps. The first step is instruments: radio, television, and press. In the year 80s, we have the Internet, and we have a reflection that we are in a milieu where people are living. So Internet is no more an instrument, but is a place where people are living. We are accustomed to use this expression that we are dealing with inhabitants of the Internet reality. The third step is the perception that such a milieu, such a place where people are living, is a social network, is a net. Today, all together, we are living and connected in a net, in a social network. And why I'm underlining this? Because there is depending the kind of your presence. Because if I consider Internet still like an instrument, I don't perceive the potentiality and the new language that today a social network is having in the life of today.
I'll bring you back to that, but I'm reminded that in 1986, the Conference of the Asian Bishops set out something like your three steps. And I think they highlighted something amongst Catholics. They said, whatever new medium came along, the Church tended to be against it. And so it was critical. Then they started, second step, to use it. And the third step discovered that they should be within it, which I think is what you were suggesting too.
For example, I tell you this, some people are criticizing some attitudes of the latest three popes. What it means, John Paul II, Benedict, and now Francis. And they say that the Pope is naive because Internet has so many limits and a great danger also for the people. Why they say this? Because recently the messages of Benedict and Pope Francis are in a positive evaluation of the opportunities that Internet is offering today. I can tell you that the popes that I am helping in this field are not naive. They are deeply conscious of the limits, of the difficulties, and the danger.
I remember when you first came into the Pontifical Council, you organised quite a number of conferences in Rome for bishops.
It is true.
I was wondering, 7 years on, have you been able to say these things to the bishops? Do the bishops understand? And are they working on these education ideas?
Don't quote me in an interview. But the majority of the bishops, they don't know even what is a chat. The young bishops, they are already technologically oriented. So you have bishops that are coming to a meeting already with their iPad.
Yes.
But especially the more aged bishops, they don't know what is internet. They were never navigating internet. So what we did is this simple way. We were organizing seminars of 3 days around the countries, and helping the bishop to discover what is happening today in communication. But to discover that is not only a technological problem, but it is a cultural problem. The interventions of new technologies are not only sophisticated instruments in our hands, but are changing our way of living, are touching our culture. My life today, without email, without already a smartphone, or my laptop, or my iPad, is no more the same. Not only because I have new instruments to get in touch with or to be in a relationship with, but my life is really perceived in a different perspective. Consider, for example, today when in some governments, in some countries, the young boys of the first year of primary school are beginning to have a laptop in their hands. And they are perceiving what is the meaning to be connected or not to be connected. This is not only an instrument in their hands, it's changing your vision of life.
You were saying at another time that this is actually the culture now for younger people.
Yeah, it's a digital culture.
Digital culture.
Yeah, sure. And this for me is the big challenge that we have today also inside the church. Is a challenge because, or we as a church, we are able to have a real dialogue with such digital culture, or probably we are going to talk only to ourselves. And now with Pope Francis, the things are changing a lot in a considerable way. The lady was presenting us this evening, a few moments ago, was mentioning this presence in Twitter of the Pope. We have already around 21 million followers. But what for me is peculiar is that there is a rate of retweeting. The youngest may know what I mean with the retweeting activity. The Pope has the highest retweeting rate. What it means that, according to the evaluations of a society specialized in these findings, it means that between 60 million and 200 million people are receiving on their smartphone the tweet of the Holy Father. As you know, we have news.va. Probably you know it. You are visiting this site. Well, news.va today has 100,000 visits a day. Well, news.va is present in Facebook. Today we have 20 million visitors in a week. And this is giving you an idea of the great opportunities that the digital reality is offering to the church.
I read last week that there's a new committee in the Vatican,
Yeah.
presided over by Don Dario Vigano, and Monsignor
Yeah.
Teig is a member,
Yeah.
to review, what is it, Vatican Radio, Vatican Television, Communications?
No, I tell you like this. There is certainly a need of a major coordination and interaction between the medias of the Vatican. Why? Because we are very evangelical. The left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing.
Yeah.
So the radio, the Vatican radio is going one way, and sometimes the Osservatore Romano is going to another way. So we need a wider and stricter coordination and harmonization of the presence of the Holy See in the media. So we were having a commission of Lord Patten, President. We call it the Patten Commission. Mm-hmm. The Patten Commission was presenting an amount of suggestions, and it was making like a program to make such a unity among the different medias. The Patten Commission was presenting such a proposal to the 9 cardinals and to the Holy Father. The 9 cardinals approved unanimously the proposal of the Patten Commission. Now, this new commission is called to implement the proposal of the Patten Commission.
You mentioned last night priests putting their sermons on a website.
Yeah.
And you also used the word museums.
Yeah.
And so I presume you're pushing forward that we get out of the museum.
I tell you honestly, it happens that on many circumstances we are late. Today our websites of the diocese are old-fashioned websites. I've never visited now a website of the Australian diocese. I will do this when I'm going home. But normally our websites are old-fashioned. You need dedication, you need inspiration, you need professionalism to do a good website. But the majority, the great majority of our websites is in Web 0. And here again, the young people, they understand what I mean with Web 0. But when today we are moving already in Web 2. And the world is already making experience of Web 3. And we, the church, we are still working in Web 0. It means that we are late. And it's interesting. Allow me to quote again Pope Francis. He says that the presence of the church in the field of internet is not to, how do you say, bombard? Is it correct?
Bombard. Mm-hmm.
Bombard with religious messages the reality of internet. But the problem is to give witness. Witness. In internet, there is a strange. Pope Francis says to the Christians, don't be afraid to enter a social network. But in a social network, you have to be witness of your faith, of your life, as a disciples of Jesus.
Peter Thomas, who is Vice President of Cygnus also, for decades we had a policy here in television and radio, Christ in the marketplace.
Yeah, sure. And again, allow me to mention a reflection of Pope Francis, but I like it very much. He was in Assisi, the place of St. Francis of Assisi. And he was quoting an expression of St. Francis, which says like this, because he was telling his brother, you have always to announce Jesus Christ. and if it is needed, also with your words. It means that the major way of communication is the testimony of faith in the world. This is the main way of communication.
Well, thank you for that. I think we'd better end. But I was hoping, if we had much more time, to move on to, I suppose, a sense of vision and the way that Jesus is presented in witness in the technology and in the net and in the culture. But I think you've taken us into those particular areas, and we've got plenty to reflect on. So thank you.
Thank you. Can I take one moment? Mm-hmm. It's something that is touching me very much. And it is a question that Pope Francis is putting to all of us. Is the Church today able to warm up the heart of the people? Our medias, our radios, our newspapers, our magazines, our sometimes web stations of TV, able to warm up the heart of our people? And this for me is a big question, because the feeling of the people is not easy today. Life is not easy. And there are moments of solitude. The major sickness that we are experiencing today, also we of the modern world, is the solitude. We have sophisticated instruments of communication. Sometimes people, they have 2 smartphones, and somebody has 3 smartphones with him, and he is feeling a deep solitude. And the problem is this, that how to perceive the presence of the love of God in our daily life. And this morning I was quoting a text that was inspiring me during this Easter time. That is a text of Saint-Exupéry, an atheist author, the writer of The Little Prince. You know it, probably. You were reading this beautiful book. In another book of his is saying, and this is why it's connected with the resurrection of Jesus, he's saying, appear also to me. Because to face the difficulties of life is more difficult if we are losing the taste of God. And I feel that is so inspiring for me. In what a way we in our media, in the field of the digital continent, we are able to help people to rediscover the taste of God.